The stages of learning are the three stages in which a performer can pass from being a novice through to a skilled performer. This theory dates back to 1967, where Paul Fitz and Michael Posner created this theory. Stages of learning look at how a performer can turn a performance such as this into this, or this into this. Pretty impressive, right? Which of the three stages an athlete is in is determined by the characteristics of their performance. Here you can see a novice performer overlaid with a skilled performer. You can see the difference in the force generated from the skilled performer to the more novice performer. The more skilled performer is at a higher stage of learning and will have a better outcome for his performance.
Let's now look at the stages of learning a motor skill. The cognitive stage, the associative stage, and the autonomous stage. To illustrate these stages, we'll profile the skill of juggling 3 balls. During the cognitive stage, the learner is completely new to the skill. The emphasis should be on developing an understanding of the whole skill and what's required to perform it. So the learner needs to know how the skill should be performed, how to stand, and how to throw and catch the balls. The next stage of learning is the associative stage, where the learner begins to focus on practicing the movement patterns of the skill. He understands the principles of juggling and is now trying to combine the various skills into a consistent performance. He's also introduced greater complexity by adding the 3rd ball and is able to evaluate his own performance. The 3rd stage of learning is the autonomous stage, where the learner is able to produce a skilled performance automatically, without thinking about the steps involved. In most sports, this means that the learner can now concentrate on the tactics and strategies of the contest. This isn't relevant for a non-competitive skill like juggling, but someone who can juggle 3 balls automatically may now consider adding more balls, trying a different implement, or adding new skills to the performance. Skilled performers stay in the autonomous stage, but they never stop learning. Not everyone reaches the autonomous stage and becomes a skilled performer. It depends on factors such as the natural ability of the learner, the amount and quality of their practice, and the support they receive. It's also important to understand that fluking a skill doesn't make someone a skilled performer. They need to be able to perform consistently and accurately, vary the speed and accuracy of the movement, move smoothly and efficiently, and react quickly to the demands of the activity. Perhaps the best way to describe a skilled performance is that phrase often used by sports commentators: "He seems to have all the time in the world."
The cognitive phase is the initial phase of the learning process. This is where the learner tries to create a mental picture of the skill. It's really important to note that demonstrations are needed. They need to see how the performance should look. The more complex the skill is, the longer it will take to learn. In this stage of learning, the performances of the athlete will be inconsistent and success is not guaranteed. The movements may look jerky or slow or uncoordinated even. Performing the skill requires all of the athlete's attention. In this phase, external feedback is vital. The athlete doesn't have kinesthetic awareness yet, therefore internal feedback will just be noise to them. Another thing they need is lots and lots of practice. In the associative stage, performances are becoming more consistent as the motor programs are being formed. While the simpler parts of the skill now look fluent and are well learned, the more complex elements require most of the spare attention. The athlete is starting to get a sense of the internal or kinesthetic feedback when they perform the skill well. They are starting to detect and correct their own errors. Learners in this stage will still rely heavily on external feedback, and they need lots and lots of practice. In fact, some learners may never move past this stage of learning if the complexity of the task is high or their ability to practice and develop and refine the motor skill is not what it should be. In the final stage of learning, the performances have become consistent, fluid, and aesthetically pleasing. The motor programs involved are well learned and stored in the long-term memory. There is now spare attention which can be focused on opponents and tactics, and this is a key part of this stage of learning.